All right, Jordan, how's it going?
Pretty good, man. How you doing?
Awesome. Good, good. Yeah, I just woke up about an hour ago. I'm here in Oregon, so right now it's well, I guess it's 10 o'clock, so I slept in.
Nice.
What state are you from?
I'm actually from Oregon, but I live in
Oh,
Sacramento right now.
oh,
Uh,
okay, crazy. Oh, so you have the same time zone. That's right. Uh,
yeah. Actually, I grew up in Eugene, Oregon. So,
oh, gotcha. Cool. Yeah, I spent my high school years there. So
mm,
yeah, small world.
yeah,
Okay, so we're gonna talk about vegan stuff. We're gonna talk about maybe what can be done to convince other people to be vegan.
yeah,
And one thing I really want to talk about, because this has been the thing I've been questioned about the most, because my channel is called Reasonable Vegan, and I focus on uh, so I've been vegan 9 years, but I've been philosophically vegan for like almost 20 years. So
mhm,
like I've had it in my mind to be vegan um
right,
for a long time. And so I've gone through all the phases of being like very like I'm not going to be friends with you if you don't stop eating meat to like
right,
being very chill and relaxed. So
right.
right now with my channel and Reasonable Vegan, I'm at the chill and relax stage of my life.
Yeah,
So
that's good.
I find that like anytime somebody has seems to have no interest in going full vegan, I like to convince them to cut back on things or cut out dairy even if you're still going to eat meat or
Sure.
focusing on cutting back on suffering. And I get a
Yeah,
lot of reactions from vegans on the internet about how reducing is nothing. It shouldn't matter at all. You either go full vegan or you don't. So, what are your thoughts on reducing?
yeah. That's a great question. It really is a great question. Obviously, the ideal is for the whole world to go vegan overnight, right? But
Mm,
realistically, it's not going to happen. So, I always try and push people to go vegan. I mean, I shouldn't say push, but I try and get people to go vegan, of course. And then I kind of get a feel for like, okay, is this person open to this? Like, are
mm,
they actually maybe consider going vegan if they see a couple more documentaries, if they see What the Health, or if they see Game Changers, or if they see Dominion or Earthlings or something like that.
mm,
If I see they're open minded, then I'll always try and get them on the path to going vegan.
mm,
And if I can see they're just totally closed minded, I'm never going vegan. Um, they're not willing to watch documentaries or anything like that,
mm,
then that's when I will suggest cutting back. Instead of eating meat 7 days a week, maybe eat meat 3 days a week or 5 days a week, or maybe cut
mm.
back on their dairy consumption, or maybe it's something as simple as switching from uh cow's milk to oat milk, or to almond
Yeah.
milk or soy milk, or something like that, because that's huge. Because some
Mm,
people would argue there's actually more cruelty in a glass of milk than there is in a piece of chicken or a piece of steak or something.
yeah.
And so if I can get them to just switch out their milk, I mean, that's still
Mm,
like, and I think of how many gallons of milk that's going to save, the dairy cows from being exploited and killed, and all that, in the long run. I mean, you
yeah.
calculate over the course of this person's whole life. I mean, that's probably hundreds of gallons of milk,
Yeah.
uh,
Yeah.
which is a lot less suffering. So, yeah, so I think that obviously try and get them to go vegan first, and if they won't budge, then try and get them to cut back on suffering. Like I said, it's as simple as something like switching out their milk. I think
Yeah.
is a big step in the right direction, at least.
Yeah, definitely. And I find that a lot of times when I talk to fellow vegans, they'll say, "Oh, I just saw one documentary and I went quick, so anybody can do it." And I think they
Yeah,
don't realize that we all have different mindsets. We all have different likes.
yeah,
We can't control how our mind works. So we listen to a song and we either like it or we don't like it. So if you have something within you that's going to make you go vegan quick, that doesn't mean that you are better than somebody else. They just happen to be born to not think that way, and they need more convincing, or they need a bigger majority of people to go that route. So I think it's important to remember. I get this when I watch Joey Carbstrong videos. so much of the information he has is so great. But then as
Yeah.
soon as somebody is hesitant at all or says like I'm thinking about reducing, or that like they're leaning that direction but they can't cut out meat, he'll be like, oh well, you just don't matter then. I can't remember his
I,
exact
I,
phrasing,
s-
but
I saw your video that you posted the other day
okay.
about Joey. And so, yes, I'm very familiar with that. And yeah, I think that I personally wouldn't approach people like that. I
Mm-hmm.
do love Joey. I know he's got thousands of people to become vegan.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but that kind of approach to it is, I think, is going to kind of turn people off to veganism.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and so, yeah, I think in a situation like that, in that video you posted the other day, I think it might be better for him to, or better for us to, just accept that, hey, reducing is a reduction still counts. I mean, it's still a step in the right direction, even though it's not the end goal.
Yeah. Yeah, well, and one thing I've been thinking about lately too. Well, actually, before I say that, I want to hear your story. So, when did you first go vegan?
I went vegan December 18th of 2019. So it's been what, 39 months? Yeah, about
Gotcha.
39 months. 39
Okay.
months.
And
Yeah.
did you like first cut out meat and then like did you do any backtracking? Did you go vegan and then slip and eat some dairy and then go, okay, I need to get on track and then get on track?
Yeah. Great question. So originally I went vegetarian first. Um, because I was thinking, my friend, he told me to watch What the Health. So that was the
Okay.
original. And then he told me to watch the slaughterhouse footage. I'm like, oh, I really don't want to watch it. He's like, oh, but you have to watch it. I'm like, oh, fine, I'll watch it.
Yeah.
And I watched it, and that's what did it. Like the What the Health is kind of what planted the seed in my mind. And then after
Hmm.
seeing the slaughterhouse footage, I'm like, oh my gosh, I can't do this anymore.
Yeah.
But yeah, I originally went vegetarian.
Hmm.
Um, and then I kind of thought like, like I do love sushi. And, I don't think fish are the same as like a cow or a pig.
Hmm.
So I think it's okay to eat fish, is what I was thinking in my mind at the time.
Yeah.
And so I went pescatarian for a little while. And then I was still eating cheese. I wasn't really drinking that much cow's milk. I did when I was young, but
Hmm.
yeah, it was pretty much cheese and fish is basically the only animal products I was consuming at the time, because I love the taste of cheese and I love the taste of fish. And
Gotcha.
so, and then my friend was telling me about the fish, and I didn't really care as much about the fish, to be honest with you. Now, of course, I don't eat fish now after, seeing the whole thing and seeing what happens to them and seeing what
Hmm.
happens to the oceans and all that. But
Yeah.
and I had no clue how much cruelty was in the egg and dairy industry.
Hmm.
Um, Not a clue. I was just
Oh,
thinking in
same
my
here.
mind, I was like, oh, I don't eat chickens anymore. I don't eat pigs anymore. I don't eat cows anymore. I'm doing pretty good. I felt pretty good
Hmm.
about myself. Like, hey, I'm making huge steps. And,
Yeah.
but I just had no idea what really went on in those industries. And then my friend showed me some videos of what happens to dairy cows and what happens to babies and how they're crying out for their mothers and they're stolen from them at birth.
Hmm.
The males, he told me 60,000 male baby calves are killed on the farm every year. That's, before, a lot of them are raised for veal and things like that as well. But
Yeah.
um, yeah, and
Well,
then
and I think they
then
have
he
to
told me,
starve. They have to starve the calves, the male ones, for a few weeks before they kill them for veal, because the starving of it is what makes veal have the taste that people like. And
yeah,
so
and,
that's
and
pretty
also,
sad.
yeah, and I was actually at a dairy farm the other day, just a couple of weeks
Oh.
ago, Fan XL Dairy here in it's in just north of Stockton,
Mm.
in between Sacramento and Stockton. But I went there, and like they had all the cows were like, um they had them like chained up,
Hmm.
because I guess in the veal industry, the veal supposedly tastes better if there's not much movement, right? They don't want the cows to move too much and gain too much
Hmm.
muscle because then it doesn't taste as good. So not only are
Hmm.
they starving them, but they're also chaining them down as well, which is, I mean, these are babies. And keep in mind, they're out in the freezing cold, which normally it's not this cold in California. But, you know, as you might know, we've had a pretty crazy year as far as weather's concerned.
Yeah.
Uh, but yeah, after learning about all that and then the egg industry, you know, they macerate the baby chicks while they're on their first day of life.
Hmm.
The male chicks, as you probably know.
Hmm.
uh, I was like, oh my gosh. And I saw the videos of it and I was like, oh, this is horrible. Like, I mean, and my friend's like, could you imagine if those were puppies? Imagine if
Yeah.
those were puppies. Then people
Hmm.
would care. Then people would really care. You know,
Yeah.
I mean, there would be massive outrage. I mean, outrage like we've never seen before.
Well, while we're talking about chicks real quick,
Yeah,
I don't know if you're familiar with the YouTube channel Debug Your Brain. Best vegan channel by far.
really.
Mine being second. This guy, no, I'm just kidding. But this guy's incredible. But I saw him have this conversation with somebody, and he was telling them how with the egg industry, you're participating in grinding up the male chicks. So what you should imagine is if you were in the grocery store and when you go to grab the thing of eggs, what
Pressing
you
a button.
have to do before you do it, there's a blender there with a
Yep.
chick in it, and you press it and watch that chick go from alive to blended up into nothing before
Yeah.
you can take those eggs. And
Mm.
obviously nobody would do that. Or
Oh,
sorry, there are some
oh,
wackadoodles that would do that. But most people are fine doing it knowing what happens because they don't have to visualize it. But if they
right.
actually had to press it so a gate would lift up so they can grab their eggs, it's a pretty interesting thing to give somebody an idea of,
Yeah,
would I still do it?
absolutely.
Um,
Absolutely. That's a great way of, and how I've always looked at it is like, every time you're purchasing eggs, you're pressing a button on that blender.
yeah,
But I've never looked at it as like, oh, you have to do that in order to buy the eggs and the gate lifts up. I've never looked at it like that.
yeah.
But yeah, I think that's great to, I mean, it might be
Mhm.
difficult for some people to do that, but you know,
Yeah.
if they're able to do that, they might not want to buy eggs anymore, which would be
Right.
great.
But yeah, so hearing your story, it's similar to mine. But I guess what I imagine is if you, while being, let's say, pescatarian, so you decided to cut out all these animal products,
Right.
and let's say that you were that lady in that video with Joey Carbstrong,
Mhm.
and you weren't convinced yet. You didn't hit that level, but you cared more than most people about
Yeah.
at least not harming the animals you don't want to harm. And
Right.
imagine Joey talking to you the way he talked to that lady. Where I can't remember the exact wording, but God, it rubbed me the wrong way so bad. But
Yeah.
I could imagine a lot of people in your situation or
Mhm.
other people that cut back on meat, because her thing was that she said that she had eaten wild amounts of meat, and then a couple of years ago she met somebody that convinced her to cut back, and so she cut
Mhm.
back. So it's somewhat like your story, except she was still eating probably more meat than when you were a pescatarian. But
Probably.
then I'm guessing when she left Joey that day, she probably just hated vegans even more than she probably already did. And
Yeah.
I just wonder if you encountered something like that, it'd be it'd be interesting to know if it would have put you off from it and it took even longer to become vegan.
Hmm.
And so,
It's a good question. Of course, it's impossible to say for sure,
yeah.
but um, knowing myself, I would say realistically, yeah, it probably would have just. I probably would have felt like, look, dude, I'm trying to make progress. Like, you should applaud my progress rather than,
Mhm.
bash me like this and make me feel like this.
Mhm.
Um, I would say I probably wouldn't like that, and it probably would turn me off to veganism.
Yeah.
Uh, I would say, at least to an extent. I don't know to
Mhm.
what extent, but at least to some sort of an extent.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, so definitely I'll send you a link, but check out that guy Debug Your Brain, because he basically he has all the information Joey has, but I've never seen him be rude once. So I could imagine that conversation that I shared that video on with Joey talking to that lady, where he could do everything in his power to convince her. He could tell all the facts, all the gory details, like don't hold back. But as soon as she's saying like, I want to reduce or whatever, instead of saying, why would I care if you reduce? What, it's still harming them. Say, all right, but I hope you think about this, and here's a card to check out the vegan 22, and just like, yeah, just like encouraging words. Well, because you got to think about the negative words I'm saying, will they have an impact? And I think the negative words of sharing the information about cows get their throats slit and putting pigs in the gas chamber, those might be disturbing and people might call it extreme, but you're just telling the truth, and
Yeah,
that's fine.
exactly.
But
Yeah.
any words you're saying that is only going to make the person angry, I think we got to attempt to be better than that. And we're
Yeah.
all human, so he might have been very upset, and that he seems to get more emotional than say like Earthling Ed does.
Hmm.
Um, but I think if we need to be in it for the animals and to stop the suffering more than being in it for ourselves. And to when I watch Joey, he probably means well. He probably means better than I imagine he does, but he comes across like a cult leader, like a religious figure of um you're either this or you don't matter. And my goal is to make vegans. If I can't make a vegan, then I don't care. And I
Hmm.
just yeah, I'm hoping to encourage people to not go that route.
Yeah.
Because I there's no way to make vegans not be thought of. Like any people are going to think what they're going to think. There's going to be
Right.
meat eaters out there that are going to just call vegans horrible, even if we were the nicest people in the world.
Oh, sure.
But
Yeah.
I just don't think we should give them any extra actual good reason. So.
Yeah, for sure. And I do want to say this, Joey, in case you're watching, I love you, man, and I appreciate everything you've done. But yeah, I think your maybe your emotions got the best of you that day. But I still love you and appreciate everything you do.
Mhm. Yeah, same here, which is why I wanted to preface that video with I'm subscribed to him on YouTube. I watch his videos. Most of the time he doesn't go this bad, but I think it's good for us to critique each other for sure.
Mhm. Oh yeah, absolutely.
What do you think of everything that went down with Cosmic Skeptic, Alex O'Connor? Do you think that the reaction is worth it because of how much of a how much of an audience he has, or do you think it made vegans look bad to see them turn on their own sort of?
It's another good question. It's kind of tough to say on this one, really. Um, but Cosmic Skeptic has done a lot for the vegan community, and I think he's
Hmm.
um, made been the reason why many people, I don't know how many people, a lot of people have gone vegan because of him,
Hmm.
which is good, and hopefully they stay vegan. So if you
Hmm.
guys are watching this, stay vegan.
Hmm.
um, but yeah, it's one of those things. Unfortunately, I wish once people went vegan, I wish they're just vegan forever. All of us. But
Hmm.
unfortunately, it doesn't happen. Same thing happened, with Damian Lillard.
I
For the
don't know
Portland
that person.
Trailblazers.
Oh, okay.
Went vegan and then kind of went back, and it just kind of didn't work out for him for
Hmm.
whatever reason. But yeah, I just think that we just take what we can get, from the vegan community. So if somebody goes vegan for a few years and then they go back, I mean, that's unfortunate to see them go back. I hate to see that, really, but
Hmm.
at least they showed that they cared, and if they brought several people, in some cases hundreds, if not thousands, of other people to go vegan during the process,
Hmm.
I still consider it a win.
Yeah, yeah. Well, and also there's different levels. So some people seem to just go vegan because either it's trendy or they want to get healthy, and then when they go back, they basically went back to what they were. Where like with Alex, I feel like it's clear that he cares about the suffering. He thinks about all the philosophical elements of why you should do it. And so with his decision, not that I think you need meat to be healthy, but with his decision to add maybe some seafood products back into his life, he's not going from, or at least it doesn't seem to me, that he's going from being not vegan to not vegan. He's going from not vegan to I, I'm going to justify these couple things for myself, but I'm still like 99% vegan or 95% vegan. And it's kind of like the reducing we were talking about. If we could get half the world to eat like Alex does today, that's a win. That's
Oh, that's a huge win. That's a
so
huge win.
yeah. And so I don't know with other people. I know like John Venus has gone back and forth a couple times and some other people, but I feel like if you care about the suffering element, even if you add animal products back into your life, I would think there'd be encouragement to like, okay, you're going to do this. Nobody can convince you not to, but don't, if you're doing it for health, then do minimal amounts. Just add a little bit of meat back into your life. Do it one day a week. There's no justification for if you're going to add unhealthy meats in. Like if you see somebody say I need it for health, and then they're eating hot dogs and chicken
Yeah,
nuggets, then you go like, oh, you just don't care at all.
yeah,
But it's one thing to say, I will let this thing suffer because I care about my health, versus saying I'll let this thing suffer because I like the taste of this thing. And
yeah,
so I really think that's the big difference. And it's sad to me that some people might need or feel like they need like to eat one steak a day or something like that. But eating one steak a day is going to be 1,000 times better than every meal having different meats. And so yeah, I guess there was just a good way to almost like keep the ex-vegans still in the vegan community, almost as if we could have a bigger community of the people that care, and not necessarily everybody that their actions are fully on board. But
right.
maybe that would have a negative effect. I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know for sure, but I think, and also keep in mind, like, who knows, like some of these people like Cosmic Skeptic and Damian Lillard and some of these other people that have gone vegan and gone back. Who knows? Maybe we'll come around again and go vegan again. I
Mm-hmm.
mean, maybe a friend will send them a message, be like, "Hey, I thought you cared about these animals, or what about this?" Or maybe they present to them new information that they hadn't seen before, and they're like, "Oh shoot, I didn't realize
Mm-hmm.
that, so maybe I should go back to be." So we also have to keep that in mind as well. Like some of these
Mm-hmm.
people, they could potentially go back to being
Yeah, for
vegan again,
sure. For
so
sure.
which would be great.
Yeah. Well, and I think one of the most important things is having the mindset of thinking it like that, which is why I like to encourage reducing, because if you get somebody to reduce, that means that person is doing it for a reason. They're not
Mhm.
just reducing because a random person told me to reduce. They're either
Right.
convinced that they want to help the environment, or that it's going to be good for their health, or most likely they want to reduce to cut back on the suffering. So if somebody decides, okay, I'm going to eat half the amount of meat I normally eat, it's not just good that that means half the amount of animals they cause the killing of will stop, but also it means that they're going to be thinking about it. So it might be a month
Yeah.
later, it might be a year later, but that person has the wheels in motion. And when they eat meat and they know they're cutting some out for a reason, they're going to start feeling funny about that. And
Mhm.
I think it's good to have those people wanting to be part of our community and not to be pushed out. Or same when you were a pescatarian. I think you, as a pescatarian, should have been part of the community. I don't know exactly how communities work, but at least my own personal community. Like I would encourage anybody, like the internet's a sucky place. So if you went near a vegan area and said that you were a pescatarian, people would just be assholes to you, and not try to have good encouragement.
Some of them,
Where
yeah,
yeah, exactly.
yeah,
Yeah, it's not everyone.
yeah.
But yeah, I guess I'm just at a place where I don't know. In my old age, I'm getting too kind, I think, and so I so I want I want to call all of us vegans, as long as we don't kick dogs in the face. We're all vegans in motion, and we're we're working it out. I've been talking to a lot of hunters lately, and it's very fascinating to hear them. So far, the two I've talked to, and I have one more coming up, like they both at least claim to be very passionate about caring about animal suffering, and that's part of why they do the hunting, is that cows on a farm are forced to be there. They're forced in groups, and then they're, prodded with electric poles and then put into different places. Where hunting, even though we might say they shouldn't die, a deer's living its whole life out in the wild, and then in seconds it's dead. This might not be good, and it might be important for me to get the wheels in motion to these hunters to think about other things in life. But I would much rather meat eaters become hunters versus eating the factory farming, and I'd much rather people be like, say, hunters than eating dairy, and then just taking these levels. So
Mhm.
that's kind of where I'm at.
Yeah, I think that as far as hunting is concerned, obviously, I don't want people hunting because, I don't want the animals being killed, of course. But is it better than paying for factory farmed animals? Uh, Absolutely. Because
Mhm.
you're taking an animal that's free out in the wild as opposed to an essential slave their whole life, and then being tormented in the slaughterhouse. So it is a little bit
Yeah.
different. I still don't want people hunting, but if you had to
Hmm.
choose between the two, is it better than factory farming? I would say yes, for sure it
Hmm.
is. But then, I know some people do hunt because they do claim to care about animals, and maybe that's true to an extent. They don't like the factory what they see on factory farms because, to be quite frank, it is pretty horrific on what really goes on those farms. If you guys haven't seen already,
Hmm.
it's worse than people think. It really is
Oh,
far
yeah.
worse than people think. It's terrible. It's like living hell for these animals. But if
Yeah.
we can maybe talk to some hunters and just be like, hey, I appreciate you caring about the animals and not wanting to support factory farming. That's great. But what if I told you about this, all these great new vegan alternatives, all these the vegan meats and vegan cheeses are getting better.
Hmm.
5 years ago, they were all right, but they've really come a long way with like Beyond and Impossible and
Yeah.
VFC and all these companies. It's getting
What's
so
a
good.
BFC?
Yeah, VFC,
BFC.
vegan fried chicken. Yeah.
Oh, I don't know that.
It's pretty good stuff. It's not Impossible Burgers are my favorite.
Yeah.
I
Oh, they're
do
so
love.
good.
I'm a big fan of Impossible Burgers. I eat them
Yeah.
probably a little too often.
Same
But
here.
and then you have stuff like Beyond Popcorn Chicken, which I don't know. Have you tried
Mm.
that by any chance?
I haven't. No.
So
No.
good. I always keep a whole stash in my
Oh, nice.
my freezer over here. So I think.
I think I'm too addicted to that stuff. So I think you're right. It's gotten so good. And
Mhm.
I'm trying to cut back and do more whole food, and just eat lots of beans, nuts, seeds,
Oh yeah.
veggies. But yes, all that stuff is so good for the people that want it for the taste. It's
Yeah.
incredible. And for as far as ice cream goes, have you ever had Nadamu?
Hmm. I can't say that I have.
Okay, it's a brand. You can get it at like natural grocers, and here in Salem we have a store called Life Source. So I don't know if you can get it at like a Fred Meyer or anything, but
Yeah.
yeah, look up Nadamu, or anybody
Okay.
listening. Nadamu is the closest to tasting like real ice cream. It's ridiculous.
I will definitely have to
Um,
check that out because I'm a big ice cream fan.
mhm.
Um, but yeah, so I guess kind of my whole point to all that is just presenting the options to these people. Not we're not shoving it
Mhm.
down their throats. We're not forcing them on anything. Just offering them, hey, come over to my house, come hang out later. I'll make you a burger, and if
Yeah.
you don't like it, we can try something else. But I think just presenting all the delicious vegan options to these
Mhm.
people, I think is really important. And I do think it's important to make sure it tastes good. Is if people are if it's about taste, for which it is. I think it's about taste for most people. But
Mhm.
if you're into somebody that and they're really into like the health aspect of it, then obviously make them a delicious healthy dish. But either
Mhm.
way, I think it's very important to present delicious vegan options to these people. Like my
Oh, for
brother and
sure.
his wife just came down from Portland the other day. They just left a couple days ago, actually.
Hmm.
And I made I don't know if you know the Burger Dude on YouTube. I just made his fried chicken and it was so good. And my dad
Nice.
was and none of my family's vegan except for me, but my dad
Oh,
was
okay.
coming back for seconds, and my brother liked it, my mom liked
Nice.
it, my brother's wife liked it, and I'm like, yes.
That's awesome. Yeah.
So yeah,
Yeah.
so I think it's really important to show them, hey, veganism can be not only just like pretty good, but it can actually be delicious, just as good as eating real meat.
Yeah, definitely. Definitely. Yeah, well, and it's just tough. It's tough for people to go from that change of something they were raised doing their whole life
Oh
and they're just used to, and then seeing that the majority of people still do it. It's really hard to have that switch flip.
yeah,
I had a family member that he was only 9 at the time, maybe 10 at the time, and I made him a bet. I told him, if you can go one full year vegan, I'll give you $300. And for a kid, $300 is quite a bit.
oh, for a
So
10-year-old.
yeah, and so he did it. He did it, and then after that, he stayed vegan, and now he's 13, almost 14, and he stayed vegan because I think the thing is, we people don't want to feel like bad people. And so if they're being told it's bad to do this thing and it's something they do, they'll quickly, their intuition will tell them to justify it, like figure out how to justify it, because I'm not a bad guy, I'm just doing what everybody's doing. But
Mhm.
when you're not doing it, when you cut it out and then you start seeing all the treatment and you're not the one causing it, then you start to see, oh, that is bad, and these people are doing it, not me, so I'm not the bad guy anymore, so now I can see it. So that's why it worked out there. I don't know if I can pay everybody $300 to go vegan for a year,
Right. But
but
that's yeah,
yeah, it works. I also did a
it's
challenge.
awesome.
I got like 10 friends to work on a documentary project with me where I had them go vegan for 1 month, and they showed up one day a week at my house, and I interviewed them asking their thoughts on it, and then each week their thoughts on like how they feel a week into it. And two two of the 10 ended up staying vegan, and they're still vegan to this day, and this was like 7 or 8 years ago.
Yeah.
And so yeah, I really think it's that idea of people don't want to view themselves as bad people. And part of why they don't is because they're not bad people. They're doing a
Yeah.
bad act, I think, at least. Um, but when I did that bad act, I wouldn't have wanted to have thought of myself as doing that bad act. So we
Yeah.
really have to figure out a way to get people to not feel like they're doing a bad thing, while to know that they're doing a bad thing. We got to do the
I hear you.
impossible, you know?
Yeah,
Um,
I hear what you're saying. That's awesome though that worked out for you. That was your nephew, you said?
yeah, yeah.
That's a pretty cool experiment, and I'm really happy to hear it worked out for him. Um, yeah, as you said, I mean, we probably can't pay like every single person in the world $300
Hmm.
to go vegan, but yeah, that's pretty cool. And yeah, that might be worth trying out sometime. Um,
Yeah. Well, and
yeah,
then if you get like I don't know if your brother has a kid, but if you get your brother's
yeah,
kid doing that, then during that year process, then your brother and his wife become vegan because they have to make all the vegan meals. So
right, right, yeah, exactly.
yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, they don't have a kid yet, but I do have some cousins I could potentially try that out with and just see if they'd be, open minded to it.
Awesome.
Um,
I'll pitch in. So
yeah,
I'll help
cool,
out with the cost.
awesome. Yeah,
Um, but yeah, cool. Well, that was a great talk, and I think we're
yeah,
probably at a good time to stop. But yeah, let's do it
yeah,
again sometime.
absolutely. Thanks for having me on. I really appreciate that.
Hmm.
And have a wonderful day. And everybody else watching, thanks for watching. I hope you guys have a wonderful day.
All right, sounds good. Take care, man.
Take care.